Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The world was dying. Alex Carter stood on the edge of a vast desert, once a fertile valley. The blistering sun hung motionless in a cloudless sky, baking the cracked earth beneath his boot. This land had once been teeming with life, with crops stretching for miles, irrigated by rivers that no longer flowed. Now the wind carried only dust, and the air was thick with the smell of burning. It was a sight that haunted him, a reminder of how far humanity had fallen, how close they were to the brink. He pulled his visor down to shield his eyes from the harsh glare and turned away. He couldn't linger any longer. There was work to be done. The world's energy crisis had come swiftly, like a storm that no one had prepared for. Fossil fuels, long relied upon, had been depleted. Wind and solar power hadn't been enough to keep pace with the demands of an ever-growing population. The oceans were poisoned, nuclear power considered too dangerous, and governments had been too slow to adapt. But humanity, ever resourceful, had found a solution: the artificial sun, a vast space-based solar energy system capable of capturing the sun, Ceres, and transferring the energy back to Earth. It had been a marvel of human ingenuity, a lifeline in a darkening future. Alex had been part of the original engineering team, working night and day to bring the system online, and had worked for a time. Then, without warning, the artificial Sunday exploded. The shockwave had disrupted the entire planet's delicate climate balance, causing temperatures to fluctuate wildly. Crops failed. Cities flooded. The worst of it, however, was the realization that the artificial Sunday hadn't failed on its own. Something or someone had tampered with it. Alex had watched from a distance as the world plunged into chaos, the same chaos he had worked so hard to prevent. Now, with the Earth's leaders panicking, they had called him back. He was supposed to fix the mess. But could it be fixed? He pulled out his communicator as the wind howled through the empty valley. Carter to command, I am ready for transport. Copy that, Carter, a voice crackled through his earpiece. We'll have you back at base in 10 minutes. Alex sighed, glancing at the dark horizon. 10 minutes felt like a lifetime. Every second wasted here was another step closer to total environmental collapse. The shuttle arrived in a roar of engine noise, kicking up dust as it landed. Alex climbed aboard, finding his seat beside Commander Maria Vega. She didn't smile. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, her voice clipped. I've seen worse, Alex replied, strapping himself in. He didn't bother with small talk. There was no time. Maria nodded, tapping at her console to confirm their departure. She was a capable leader, Alex knew that much, tough, unflinching, and focused. It was no wonder the global leaders had chosen her to lead the mission's security team. But even Maria couldn't fully mask the concerns into her sharp features. They were both fully aware of the stake. As the shuttle rose into the sky, Alex's thoughts drifted to his team. In just a few hours, they'd be launching into space, heading toward the shattered remains of the artificial Sunday. The mission was clear: repair it before the world, then climate spiraled beyond the point of no return. But the closer they got to launch, the more Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The briefing room aboard the EO's, their designated spacecraft, was cramped, buzzing with the hum of old machinery and the scent of antiseptic. Alex stood at the head of the table, eyeing his team. They were the best humanity had left to offer, and each of them knew it. Dr. Ella Quinn sat directly across from him, her gaze hard, her arms crossed. She had been his partner once, a brilliant astrophysicist, with a mind sharp enough to cut through the most complex of problems. Their history was complicated, fraught with unresolved tension, professional disagreements, and a shared guilt over the death of a mutual colleague. Wanda wanted to work with him. Much was clear. Beside her was Raj Patel, the youngest member of the team and a rising star in systems engineering. He was nervous, always fidgeting with his tools or data pads, but there was no denying his genius when it came to computer systems. Alex had chosen him for a reason. Raj knew the ins and outs of the artificial Sunday systems better than anyone. Finally, Maria Vega stood in the back of the room, arms behind her back, every bit the military professional. Her role was simple: keep them alive. But in space, nothing was ever simple. Alex took a breath and began. We all know why we here. The artificial Sunday exploded, and Earth's climate is hanging by a thread. We don't have time for failure. If we don't fix this, every single person on this planet will be facing extinction. Elara shifted in her seat, her eyes boring into him. I assume you have a plan. Alex nodded. We're going to reach the remains of the artificial Sunday, assess the damage, and start repair. We have to stabilize the reactor core first if that goes. It's on over, Rod? I'll need you on that immediately. Raj nodded, though. His expression was tense. Ilara, once we stabilize the core, I need you to work on rerouting the energy grid. We'll have to rebuild it from scratch. The energy transfer systems are completely fried. Ilara raised an eyebrow, and if the core can't be stabilized. Alex clenched his jaw. Then we improvised, but we will stabilize it. She didn't look convinced. You don't seem to understand. This isn't just about patching up a few wires. The core is likely in a state of flux. If it's unstable, the whole thing could blow again, taking us with it. We won't even let it get to that point, Alex said, his voice firm. Maria stepped forward. We'll keep security tight. I don't want any surprises out there. Good, Alex said, because if we rewrite, this wasn't an accident. Someone did this. They launched at dawn. The UEOs broke through Earth's atmosphere, leaving behind the fractured blue and green sphere that was slowly being consumed by environmental chaos. Inside the ship, the tension was palpable. Alex watched the Earth shrink below them from the viewport, his mind racing through the countless possibilities of what they might find up there. In the distance, the artificial Sunday loomed its once brilliant surface, now marred by debris and jagged pieces of metal drifting aimlessly. It was a graveyard in space. The remains of humanity, its most ambitious project now, a floating symbol of their desperation. Pass a mess out here's a key. Maria's team prepared for the spacewalk, her soldiers checking their suits and equipment with a precision that Alex couldn't help but admire. They were trained for the worst, but this mission was pushing the boundaries of even their experience. Brace for impact, Maria warned, just as a large chunk of debris scraped against the side of the U. The ship rattled, but held steady. Nice and easy, Alex muttered under his breath, watching the display screen in front of him. They were getting closer. As they reached the remains of the artificial Sunday, Alex could see the full extent of the destruction. The core reactor was a mess of twisted metal and shattered glass panels. The delicate wiring that once transmitted the sun's energy to Earth was nothing more than a tangled web of destruction. Raj's voice came through again. I don't know, boss, this looks worse than I thought. Alex gripped the console. We'll make it work. We don't have a choice. Alara's voice joined the conversation, calm but edged with concern. We were going to need to get a closer look. I'll head out with the team. Alex hesitated, but he knew there was no other way. Be careful out there. The airlock hissed open as Maria led her team out into the black void of space, Alara close behind. Alex watched through the viewport as they drifted toward the remains of the core reactor, the once glowing structure now dark and ominous. Approaching the core, Alara reported, we'll start the scan. Alex felt the weight of responsibility press down on him. If they couldn't stabilize the core, Earth was doomed. There was no margin for error, no time for second guessing. Then came the sound he'd been dreading. Ilara's voice crackled through the intercom, barely concealing her alarm. There's something wrong. This wasn't just an accident. Someone sabotaged the reactor. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had suspected it, but hearing it confirmed sent a cold wave of fear through him. Sabotage? Raj asked, his voice incredulous. Elara's next words chilled them all. If we don't fix this fast, the artificial Sunday is going to go critical again. And this time, we won't be able to stop it. Alex's mind raced. Sabotage, he had known something was wrong. But to have his worst fears confirmed like this was a gut punch. His thoughts briefly flicked back to Earth already ravaged by the first explosion. If they failed again, there would be nothing left to say. Run the scans, he said, forcing himself to remain calm. Figure out how deep the damage goes. We'll need to prioritize the core stabilization first. Outside the viewport, Elara and Maria worked with the rest of the team, maneuvering around the ruined structure of the artificial Sunday. Alara's scanner beeped as she brought it close to the core surface. This isn't too good, Alara's voice crackled through the comm. I am seeing evidence of a foreign device attached to the reactor as primary energy regulator. It's small, but it looks like it's designed to destabilize the core. How long do we have before the reactor becomes unstable again? Alara's pause on the comm was too long for comfort. Not long. Raj, Alex barked. I need you to analyze those readings. If Alara says, right, we were looking at deliberate sabotage, There must be a way to disable whatever device is in there without triggering another explosion. I am on it, Raj replied, the sound of frantic typing coming through. But if this thing is as sophisticated as it looks, we might be cutting it really close. One wrong move could blow the whole thing again. Just find me a solution, Alex ordered, feeling the sweat bead on his forehead despite the cool temperature of the cabin. Maria's voice cut through conscious. Alex, I am sending 2 of my men to help stabilize the core housing while Illyra and I focus on removing the foreign device. We'll need to be precise, no room for error. Agreed, Alex said, feeling a strange sense of calm settle over him. This was it. They either fixed the artificial Sunday or watched Earth's saddest hope burn out in the cold of space. Let she do it. The minutes dragged on as Illyra and Maria worked outside the ship, their movements precise and methodical, despite the danger looming over their every action. Alex monitored their progress, fingers tight around the edge of the console. Raj was muttering to himself, deep in concentration, but Alex's thoughts were elsewhere, turning over every possibility, every outcome, every failure that could still happen. Then Raj spoke up. I've got something, he said, his voice tense. If we reroute the secondary power lines away from the core housing, we can isolate the foreign device. This is going to take some serious manual rewiring. Illyra, you'll need to bypass the primary feed directly. Do you think you can handle that? I'll make it work, Illyra replied. Just guide me through it. Raj started feeding instructions, his voice steady but the underlying tension clear. Alex watched through the viewport, feeling utterly helpless as the minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Every second counted. I'm almost there, Illyra said, her breathing heavy over the comms. Just a few more connections to go. And then a loud crack echoed through the comms, followed by a short scream. Alex's heart lurched into his throat. What happened? Illyra Maria shouted. Illyra Espen hit her tether, snapped. She drifted. Get her back, Alex barked, panic rising in his chest. His eyes frantically scanned the exterior, searching for a glimpse of Illyra's suit as it drifted away from the reactor. The others scrambled into action, but space offered no mercy. Without her tether, Illyra was drifting farther and farther into the void. Maria, Alex said, struggling to keep his voice calm, I need you to get Illyra back inside now. Maria didn't hesitate on it. She signaled her men, and 2 of them immediately launched toward Illyra's last known position. Keep her steady, keep her in view, Maria's sass voice directed the crew as they carefully maneuvered. Alex could only watch helplessly as the 2 soldiers rocketed toward Illyra, jetting through space with precision. Seconds ticked by like hours as they caught up to her and grabbed her suit, pulling her back toward the ship. Relief washed over Alex as he saw her tethered back safely to the EO. I've got her, one of Maria's soldiers confirmed, their voices steady over the comm. Illyra, are you okay? Alex asked. I'm fine, she grunted, her voice shaky but determined. Just get this over with. They pulled her back to the core reactor, but now every second felt heavier, every movement fraught with the looming threat of failure. Finally, Illyra's voice cut through the tension once more. Raj, I've bypassed the primary feed. You should have control of the secondary lines now. Alex exhaled. Their fingers flew over the controls. All right, we rerouting the power flow. Now it's working. The core is stabilizing, but we were still not out of the wood. I'll need another half hour to secure the grid before we can bring the full system back online. Keep at it, Alex said, his voice steadying. We're almost there. As the team continued their repairs, Alex felt a glimmer of hope, but it was short-lived. A sudden warning alarm blared across the control room. What now? He muttered under his breath, rushing to the console to check the reading. Raj's voice echoed his dread. There's a power surge in the reactor. The sabotage it has triggered an automatic feedback loop. If we don't shut it down now, the reactor's going to overload again. Alex's mind raced. Option. Raj didn't hesitate. Manual override. Someone has to get inside the core and shut it down. From there, it's the only way to stop the feedback. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Entering the core meant risking exposure to lethal radiation, and even with the protective suits, there was no guarantee of survival. But without someone inside, Earth didn't stand a chance. I'll do it, Raj said, standing up from his station. Alex looked at him in surprise. Raj, no, you're too valuable out here. Raj shook his head. I am the only one who knows the systems well enough to pull this off. Besides, I have something to make up for. Alex, brow furrowed. What are you talking about? Raj hesitated. I wasn't just hired for my expertise, Alex. He swallowed hard. They blackmailed me. The people who sabotaged the artificial Sunday, they threatened my family. And you were involved, Alex whispered, the realization hitting him like a punch to the gut. You helped them. Raj lowered his head in shame. I didn't know it would be this bad. I swear I didn't. But now I have to make it right. Let me do this. There was a heavy silence in the room as Alex weighed the decision. He should have been furious, should have dragged Raj off the mission and handed him over for justice. But they didn't have time for that. They needed Raji. Earth needed Raj. So Alex said, finally, but make sure you come back. Raj nodded and suited up. The team watched in silence as he entered the airlock, stepping out into the cold void of space. He was just a tiny figure against the massive bulk of the artificial Sunday as he made his way toward the core. The next few minutes were agonizing. Alex watched the readouts closely, tracking Raj's progress as he entered the core chamber. Raj's breathing came through the comms, heavy and uneven as he worked. I am at the control panel, Raj said, his voice strained, beginning the manual override sequence. Now, Alex held his breath. I am rerouting the final power lines. Raj's voice trailed off, and for a moment, all they could hear was static. Then the feedback loop is stopped. The core is stabilizing. Alex exhaled, relief flooding through him. But just as quickly, Raj's voice crackled again. Alex, I don't think I am going to make it out of here. The radiation's too strong. No, Alex said, his voice tight. We'll get you out. Just hang on. Raj's voice was fading it. It's okay. I made my choice. Tell them I am sorry. And then the line went dead. Alex closed his eyes, his chest tight with grief. He hadn't been able to save Raj, but the mission was complete. The artificial Sunday was stabilized. Earth had a fighting chance. Maria's voice broke the silence. The system's holding. We ready to head back? Alex opened his eyes, forcing himself to focus. Good, let's go home. They gathered the remaining crew and made their way back to the EO. Alex took one last look at the artificial Sunday through the viewport as the ship pulled away. It was no longer a beacon of hope, but it wasn't a symbol of destruction either. It was something in between, a fragile reminder of humanity's desperate will to survive. As they entered Earth as atmosphere, Alex couldn't help but feel the weight of all they had lost. But he knew one thing for sure: they had given Earth a chance, and sometimes that was enough.